Hello and welcome to the Rugby Gods podcast. I'm John Keenan. No mai haere mai. Today is February 7th, so it's the day after Waitangi Day. Waitangi Day is basically New Zealand Day, or New Zealand's kind of founding between Indigenous Maori and the British in 1840. So yeah, aroha nui Aotearoa. Big love to New Zealand, and I hope everybody had a good Thursday, a good public holiday Thursday. Just quickly though, makes me think. I'm all about thinking about Super Rugby, or thinking what could be done with the Super Rugby competition. Kind of makes me think: should there be a Waitangi Day game every year? Now, I would. I would obviously have to include one New Zealand team, but it would probably, or should probably, be two New Zealand teams, but maybe not necessarily so, but obviously at least one New Zealand team. And just for example, we'll go through round two very shortly, but you have a great game, a blockbusting game in terms of the Chiefs v Crusaders, which is going to be on Saturday night. So it sort of makes me wonder, could you have played that game, say, on a Wednesday night, the night before Waitangi Day? Basically, as I'm saying to the international audience, like New Zealand Day. Or could you have played that on, say, Thursday afternoon or late Thursday afternoon, New Zealand time, on Waitangi Day? Would be kind of nice maybe to have, a game of Super Rugby essentially on our national day. Maybe something that kind of brings a lot of the country together, quite a lot of unity there. Obviously, British or European peoples, Pacific Island peoples, Maori peoples, or Maori tribes in general play rugby. Like it's quite a all-encompassing sort of demographic sport in New Zealand. So not to go into the politics too much, but it's often quite a divisive or divisive, morning at Waitangi and on the marae there. It's very political, so perhaps maybe it would be good to have some light relief for the New Zealand rugby public, or just the New Zealand public in general, to have a really great game like the Chiefs at home to the Crusaders. Or there's a Friday night game going on right now, or in about an hour's time, the way I see it, or in my reality. So that's a Friday night game. It's a season opener for the Highlanders. Again, maybe could you have played that game on a Thursday night rather than a Friday night, like a normal Friday night? With Waitangi being a Thursday. Obviously a little bit of travel issue because they will be playing the Sharks, who are having to come from Durban. So maybe not the most appropriate or polite thing to do, like bring it a day forward for their travel. But these are just things to think about. I mean, I think if Sansa can, create an itinerary or create a calendar, basically look at Waitangi Day and say, well, we've got to put at least one New Zealand derby on, that weekend. And then, perhaps, rather than playing it on, our Friday, Saturday in New Zealand time, maybe we play it on a Thursday, or maybe we play it on we play it on a Monday or a Tuesday even, or a Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously, if the games happen to be, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Waitangi happens to be, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then, easy. You've got a New Zealand derby on Waitangi Day, New Zealand's national day. So, another little thought there that would make things a little bit interesting. And I think, one more thought there, one more quick extension on that. If you're Australian, obviously you would understand what I mean by Anzac Day. And again, perhaps the Anzac Day round, if you will, you could have at least a New Zealand derby and or Australian derby, or even some cross-conference games between an Australian and New Zealand team. And again, maybe you could actually play them on Anzac Day. So for example, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Anzac Day, then you just play the games, right? It's just normal. have a late Monday game or a late Tuesday game for the round if that's what Anzac Day falls on. Or play a Wednesday night, Thursday night if Anzac Day is Wednesday or Thursday. Essentially just maybe factor in a couple of those very significant special days for New Zealand and for Australia, and play matches, play sort of meaningful, exciting matches on the day. I think that would be pretty cool. And then obviously, if South Africa, Argentina, Japan, if they have days that are significant to them, then perhaps there could be a game on those days too. So yeah, just a few thoughts there. Obviously a bit of preamble, but yeah, let's get into round 2. So Super Rugby round 2, going to have a quick shoot around of the round, just talk about the games, who's playing, where they're playing. I won't give you I might give you who I think is going to win. I won't give you my margin because I'm playing in a fantasy tournament, Super Brew Predictor, whereby I actually kind of have my picks secret until kickoff time of the games. So I don't really think too many people are going to watch this before the games come out. But I just basically don't want to give my margin. I think I'll leave that to my Monday sort of like round 2 wrap-up podcast that I'm trying to do on Mondays. So yeah, this one is a Friday. It's a sort of like a preview of the round. Unfortunately for me, February is going to be quite busy with my life, with my job. So I'm not really going to be able to watch the Friday, like the New Zealand Friday games, do a preview, watch the game, and then do a quick review, which is what I did last week with the Blues Chiefs game. That was quite a lot of fun, and I was hoping to be able to do that essentially every week. But for this week, this podcast is a bit earlier in my real world time, and I'm not going to be able to do a review of the game. That being the first game of the round, which is the Highlanders starting their season against the Sharks. So I'm just going to have to quickly shoot through this. Probably be a 30-minute podcast. Just have a quick look at the games, talk about it, and then maybe I'll give you some very brief and very quick Six Nations predictions too for the weekend, just so I can come back to those on Monday. Take you through my picks for Super Rugby and take you through my picks for this coming weekend in the Six Nations. So enough with all that. So let's get on to the main course, if you will, which is going to be Super Rugby 2020 round 2. So like I've just said before, maybe even a couple of times there, the Highlanders are at home to the Sharks in Dunedin. So it's essentially, it's round 2, but it's game 1 for the Highlanders. They had a bye the last weekend, first round bye. So it's pretty much a season opener at home for the Highlanders. Be interesting to see what kind of crowd they get. A little bit early in the year for the students. Dunedin is very much a student town. Probably looking at a fifth to a quarter of the city is students, essentially. Big university down there. The University of Otago. So it will be interesting to see what kind of crowd they get. It'll be probably just Dunedin locals as such. It might be a few kids perhaps, and then just the diehard oldies, but I think they'll be missing their students, so might not be such an intimidating place for the Sharks. They do have a bit of travel though. They've had to come from Durban, and it's the first week of 4 weeks on the road for the Sharks. So, good luck on that road trip. They did start with a win against the Bulls last week, so that was probably a very important win for them because, if you go 4 weeks on the road in New Zealand and Australia, obviously it's potential to drop all 4 games or drop 3 games out of 4. And if you had lost, or if the Sharks had lost their season opener against the Bulls, you could well be going back to the Republic for, week 6 or round 6, like 5 losses. So, that'd be terrible or horrific for your season. But they got the win against the Bulls, and The good news for the Sharks is I don't quite have it in front of me, but off the top of my head, it's the Highlanders today, February 7th. Then they play the Hurricanes next weekend in Wellington. Then they hop across to Australia, and I believe they play the Rebels round 3 of their road trip, and the Reds as their 4th round of their road trip. So, I think the Reds could be quite impressive this year. I've got them as a top 2 Australian team. Rebels obviously losing to the Sunwolves last week. It'll be interesting to see how they respond in the next game, this weekend, the next game that I'm going to talk about against the Brumbies. And then obviously you've got the Hurricanes and the Highlanders for the Sharks. So, certainly I would put the Highlanders and Hurricanes, they're certainly out of my top 2 New Zealand teams. I'd put the Rebels outside of my top 2 Australian teams. So, the Sharks are on a 4-game road trip, but kind of playing weaker Australia and New Zealand opposition, I would say. Probably their toughest test will be the Reds, but they may already have a couple of wins by the time they get to Brisbane. So, couple that with their win in round 1 against the Bulls, and maybe it's a really good start to the season. Might be 2 or 3 wins out of 5, and the bulk of your international travel done. So yeah, quite a lot of spiel there about the Sharks. Apologies if nobody cares, but South Africans, shout out. Hopefully you appreciated a little bit of South African content here from a New Zealander, or a little bit of New Zealand thought about a South African team. Like I've said before, the Sharks are probably historically my favourite South African team. So yeah, looking after you guys there. I've got your back there, Sharks. So interesting to see what the Highlanders do. Mitch Hunt coming from the Crusaders, he's going to start 10. They've pushed, so I was going to say Rico Ioane, but it's obviously not. It's Josh Ioane. They've pushed him out to 12. So they're sort of playing 2 playmakers, 2 10s at 10 and 12. And they have the exciting Josh Mackay, who's been in and around the Highlanders for a few years now. Hasn't played very much with the likes of Ben Smith at the Highlanders, but he's going to get the fullback start. So yeah, it looks like a fairly exciting Highlanders backline. Just whether or not they're going to get clean or good ball, that will be the big test, I think, for them in this game and probably all season. That's just my pick anyway from the outset. So yeah, second game, trying to get through this, or I'll try and get through them a little bit faster than that. Just went down a little bit of a Sharks rabbit hole there. We've got the Brumbies against the Rebels. So the Brumbies at home against the Rebels in Canberra. Second home game in a row for the Brumbies. Second away game in a row for the Rebels. Brumbies did well, came back last week and won. Rebels just got put away by the Sunwolves. So yeah, definitely favouring the Brumbies there. Just personally favouring the Brumbies in that one. And also for the first game there, I'm favouring the Highlanders for a season opening win in Dunedin as well. So I've got the Highlanders for the first game against the Sharks, and I've got the Brumbies for the second game against the Rebels. So those are the 2 Australasian Friday night games. I don't believe there's a South African game on Friday night. So game 3 of the round is the Chiefs at home to the Crusaders in Hamilton, and I've got to say that's a huge game for me. That's your New Zealand Conference 1 and 2 right there. Chiefs, great second half to pull it out of the fire against the Blues last week. Crusaders just insanely efficient and dominant against what I still think is a very good Waratahs team. So yeah, Chiefs have run a few changes. Obviously, Cruden is given 10. He's going to run things from the start, and they also have Mackenzie back at 15. So and they've got Weber on the bench again, which is a little bit interesting. So they've started with Titoero Tahuriarangi for a second week. Certainly by no means a bad halfback or a bad 9, especially at Super Rugby level. But when you do have someone like Brad Weber in your squad, in your team, and you're playing the Crusaders, I would more than consider, I would definitely be starting Weber and, getting a good 50-60 minutes out of him, as opposed to, maybe bringing him on for energy to try and chase a game or something. So yeah, a little bit of an interesting pick there, but going to Cruden for 10 and McKenzie for 15, and then like the double punch of your sort of All Black level or peripheral All Black level halfbacks. It's a good axis there in the back line. And then the Crusaders are missing Richie Mo'unga, I believe. So not exactly sure what that's about, if it's an illness or a small injury or concussion or what. I haven't read around it too much. I just know he's not starting and he's not in the 23, so it must be some sort of illness or injury. And I think that's definitely a big loss, obviously, for the Crusaders. Havili has been pushed into 10, which again is very interesting when you have the likes of Brett Cameron and even Fergus Burke, although you'd have to say he's probably still a year or 2 years away from being a genuine Super Rugby player. But yeah, so Havili on Cruden. I think you've certainly got to say the Chiefs start with some psychology there. I'd certainly back Cruden and what he can do at 10 over a makeshift Havili 10. So yeah, Chiefs at home, and they've got pretty decent spine there. A little bit lacking perhaps in the type 5, and that will be, I think, the real test of the game. I think the Crusaders will dominate that type 5, but I feel like the Chiefs have it in the back row and probably have it in the back line with the Crusaders missing Mo'unga. So yeah, both teams there have their their strengths and weaknesses, and the Chiefs are at home, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs on that one. And yeah, I'll let you know how that goes for me on Monday. It could be a bold call, could be perhaps a really stupid call, but we'll see. Win each, and yeah, big game. Game 4 of the round is the Waratahs at home against the Blues, playing in Newcastle, so sort of New South Wales country, or like up the coast from Sydney. So yeah, Blues week 2 have to travel over to New South Wales, over to Sydney, and then travel up to Newcastle. Waratahs have to come back from Nelson, come back from the South Island. So yeah, a bit of travel for both teams. I liked what I saw of the Waratahs, even though they were pretty efficiently put away by the Crusaders last week. I did like what I saw. And with the Blues, I also, obviously in the first half, liked what I saw a lot against the Chiefs, but I think once a little bit of that bench quality came on for the Chiefs in the second half, and then one or two sort of injuries for the Blues, they sort of came apart there. Well, they came apart quite massively, actually, if you watch the second half and see the scoreline in that second half against the Chiefs. And I don't really feel like it was unlucky that the Blues lost last week. They put in a really good first 40, but they just fell away badly in the second 40. So I'm going to stick to the Waratahs there. Waratahs with the home advantage, and I believe they're going to win that game. Both teams coming off a loss against pretty good opposition, very good opposition, the Chiefs and Crusaders, in fact. But I'm going to go with the Waratahs for the win there at home. So fifth game of the round will be coming from the Republic, from South Africa. It's going to be the Lions at home to the Reds from Johannesburg. So coming back from Buenos Aires, from South America, Argentina, are the Lions to play a home game. Obviously got massively handled, just got mauled, by that Jaguares outfit. I did watch the extended highlights, and I think I said last week, or in my sort of round 1 wrap up, the Lions did actually keep it close for a period of time, but they got absolutely blown out in that last sort of 20-25 minutes. So yeah, pretty much just have to write that one off, kind of believing the systems, believing your first sort of 60 minutes of rugby against the Jaguares. Play at home and onwards and upwards, right? For the Reds, it's their second away game. They played the Brumbies away last week, and now they've got the Lions away in Johannesburg, first week of their 2-leg like South America tour. I believe they've got the Jaguares next week. So yeah, pretty difficult start to the season for the Reds. I'm pretty hot on the Reds. I've got them as one of my top 2 Australian teams after 6 rounds. But maybe I didn't read the schedule so well. Playing away to the Brumbies, got to travel over to Johannesburg, play the Lions at altitude, and then kick on and play the Jaguares round 3 at home for the Jaguares, round 3 away for you, the Reds. It's going to be pretty damn hard to probably get more than 1 win there. I think they definitely have to target this Lions game to get a win on the board. I think the Jaguares next week will be very difficult for the Reds, and obviously they already dropped a game last week, even though they were playing very well, much like the Blues, played very well in the first half, but fell apart in the second half. So yeah, I've got, it's the Lions at home, but I've actually got the Reds in this one. So yeah, I'm picking the Reds to beat the Lions there in Johannesburg. So 6th game of the round, we'll see the Stormers at home to the Bulls from Cape Town. So it's the 2nd game in a row for the Stormers. 2nd Saturday afternoon game, I believe it is their time. So 2nd Saturday afternoon game in Cape Town for the Stormers. Efficiently put away, did more than efficiently put away the Hurricanes. Destroyed the Hurricanes last week. Dominated them in almost every facet. As I sort of went through in my Stormers Hurricanes sort of debrief on last Monday. And now they've got the Bulls, so yeah, definitely a different kettle of fish. Hurricanes didn't really play 15-man rugby at all, but that kind of is their ethos. If they can get it going, they will. Whereas I think the Bulls pretty happy to play sort of 10-man rugby, perhaps involve Haaland, their fullback, from the back from time to time. But generally speaking, you're going to run a lot of things through Mornay Stain. It's going to be fairly limited. I think it'll be forward orientated and fairly kickable, or like there'll be a lot of in-play kicks. So yeah, it could be a very different kind of game for the Stormers. It will be interesting to see how they back up. They lost Khaleesi in their first game to injury, but I still think they've probably got a fair amount of quality across their pack. I think they'll be able to meet the Bulls, and then out wide with Jantjies, Willemse, and then their back line, the likes of Jamie Roberts. He looked very good last week. I didn't really talk about him too much, but he looked very good in his Super Rugby debut for the Stormers last week in the midfield, and he's playing again. So you look at that axis of Jantjies, or that sort of extended spine there. You've got Jantjies at 9, Willemse 10, and then Jamie Roberts 12. It's quite impressive. It's quite an impressive little axis there, or pivot area. So yeah, I've got the Stormers to win that one at home. And then final game of the round, game 7. It will be from Buenos Aires again. So again, the Jaguares, second home game for them in a row. It's the Jaguares at home against the Hurricanes from Buenos Aires. So second week in a row for the Stormers at home in Cape Town, second week in a row for the Jaguares at home in Buenos Aires. They're kind of my top 2 teams in the South African Conference, and they're obviously getting a pretty nice start to the tournament with double home games. So yeah, Hurricanes didn't get too drastic in the first 5 department, but did the natural, logical, essentially essential thing, which was to rotate in and out their starting 10. So Fletcher Smith is to the bench. Jackson Garden-Bishop is going to get the start this week, which I think is the absolute minimum of what you needed to do there in terms of the first 5 or the 10 woes that are at the Hurricanes this year. So yeah, hopefully Garden-Bishop can go better, can provide La Mape, Ben Lamb, Geordie Barrett. Hopefully he can provide them with a few more opportunities to run. Love to see them, actually, put something together in that back line. Not too many other changes. I think they retained the same back three, retained the same midfield, which I thought was a little bit surprising. I thought you might have given Vince Asa a start, perhaps at centre, but they've retained Billy Proctor. Booth is still on the bench behind Perinara. In the forwards, there's a couple of minor tweaks there, and there's also a rotation of the hookers, with I think Almore deservedly starting ahead of Riccatelli, who was a bit of a mixed bag / slightly average as a starter last week against the Stormers. So yeah, not a huge amount of shake-up or change at the Hurricanes. There's not really that much you can do when you're on the road. When you're on your South African tour, or like your South African conference tour. I believe you only take something like 28 players. It might be more now, but I believe up until a year or two ago you only take 28 players, and then obviously you have some of your squad on standby back in New Zealand. So if basically a squad of 23 just runs out and does nothing for a whole game, which is what happened in Cape Town. At the very best, there's only basically 5 changes you can ring, right? And a couple of those are probably hookers and halfbacks that you probably don't really want to rotate too much. So yeah, there's not a hell of a lot they can do about their predicament. They're going to be up against the Jaguares, which I think are going to be just as strong, if not stronger, than what the Stormers were last week. So yeah, definitely got the Jaguares for this one. But yeah, hoping for a much improved Hurricanes performance, show some grit, show some fight, and then try and get back for round 3 when they get a home game against the Sharks next week, which might be sort of more like really the start of their season. They might have to just sort of park these first 2 tour games against the Stormers and Jaguares, very tough opposition, and just take a couple of tough losses on the chin, and then get back to work in Wellington from round 3. I think that's the reality of it. So yeah, a little bit long-winded as per usual, but I'll just quickly go back through that one more time for you if you're a little bit of a goldfish like myself sometimes. So I've got the Highlanders to win at home against the Sharks. I've got the Brumbies to win at home against the Rebels. I've got the Chiefs to win at home against the Crusaders. Might be a little bit of an underdog pick. I've got the Waratahs at home to beat the Blues. I've got the Reds away to beat the Lions. I've got the Stormers at home to beat the Bulls. And I've got the Jaguares at home to beat the Hurricanes. So picking 6 of 7 home teams there. The Chiefs might be a little bit of an underdog pick, and I think the Reds is probably quite a large underdog pick. Although I'm not exactly sure on that. I can give you those community stats, community picks on Monday. So yeah, that's that, round 2. I think you'd have to say, and I don't think it's in any way biased to say this, definitely have to say Chiefs Crusaders would have to be the game of the round there. Look forward to watching that one for the Saturday game. And then Jaguares Hurricanes could be interesting to see how those 2 teams back up for different reasons. Could be interesting to see how the Stormers go week 2, and how they back up as well after that great performance. Blues Waratahs both coming off losses, but looking fairly reasonable. Again, losses against good teams and looking fairly reasonable. So yeah, there's definitely a few interesting games there. Even the Lions Reds, both teams having to travel back to Johannesburg, both coming off losses, could be pretty interesting. And I think Brumbies Rebels maybe not so great for me, but good luck to both teams there. So yeah, coming up on 30 minutes right now, pretty much going to make a stop there. Super quick picks for the Six Nations before I basically run away here. So we got 3 games for basically round 2 of the Six Nations. I'm trying to cheat here and I'm using my stupid slow computer, as opposed to the tablet, which has been serving me well for the last few podcasts. So yeah, it took a little while to load there as per usual. But here we go. So yeah, Ireland at home to Wales. Difficult one to pick that. Very even. I'm going to go and favour Wales. Close win to Wales there. Scotland at home to England. I think England's going to have to rebound and beat Scotland there, take the Calcutta Cup back, and keep their Six Nations alive. And then France at home to Italy. I think we know that's going to be a French win. So, or it better be, after that great England performance, they better not, shit the bed, if you will, and lose to Italy. So yeah, I'm going to pick Wales, close win away to Ireland, England to beat Scotland, and France to beat Italy by a big number. That would be my picks for that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Just a quick little round 2 preview and a quick little Six Nations look. So thank you very much. 30 minutes when you're a rambler like myself, it goes pretty damn quick, right? So here we are, we're at 31 minutes. So I'm going to check out. I won't have a follow-up to this. I won't have an aftermatch of the Highlanders Sharks, because just basically life, work commitments, etc. for February have stymied that possibility for maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks. But it will be something, hopefully by the end of February into March. I should be able to get back to having a 30-minute sort of preview, watch a game, and then a 30-minute review on a Friday. That's definitely something I want to try and keep doing, if work allows, if my life allows. So yeah, thanks a lot for having a quick watch, a quick listen. If you did, that was great. Remember, I used timestamps, so if you just want to check out 5 minutes, 10 minutes here of the podcast, then just look through my show notes and look at the timestamps. So please subscribe on YouTube to the channel, the Rugby Gods, the Rugby Gods podcast, right? the.rugby.gods _podcast, I believe. But yeah, basically just type keyword search or word search the Rugby Gods podcast, the Rugby Gods. I'm pretty sure you'll find me there on YouTube. And then basically the same thing on Facebook. Give me a like there if you can. That'd be awesome. Again, just at the Rugby Gods podcast, or the rugby.gods, blah blah blah. If you just keyword search into Facebook, the Rugby Gods podcast, I'm pretty sure you'll find me. So yeah, got a YouTube channel going and got a little Facebook page going. So yeah, please subscribe and please like if you can. That'd be awesome. So yeah, gonna leave it at that. Good luck to the Highlanders opening their season in Dunedin, round 2, first game for them. And also best of luck to the Sharks, because I kind of like the Sharks. But Highlanders also like them, or certainly respect them. A decent team for me. Certainly have a bit of love. A couple of brothers live down in Dunedin, back home, and I also went to the University of Otago in Dunedin, so have a little bit of love for the city and for the Highlanders. So yeah, best of luck to both teams. Hopefully it's a good running rugby occasion, under the roof at Forsyth Bar, the new stadium, or the stadium of the last sort of 8 to 10 years now, I guess. Definitely means that you get good, guaranteed good weather, no wind, and then obviously coming to Dunedin in February. Well, that's a good time to come. If ever there's a good time to come to Dunedin, it's probably February, March. Rest of the year, if you're coming for the weather, you might want to give it a miss. So Sharks are inside under the roof, but it's basically summertime in New Zealand, so should be pretty nice and warm. Good for running rugby. Hopefully it's not too sweaty in there. And hopefully we see some good tries and just a good game in general. So yeah, basically doing a little bit of spitballing, stalling for time here as I watch it count down to 35 minutes. I'm just sort of trying to hang out for that 35-minute spot. So yeah, again, one more time, thank you very much. Good luck with all your picks. If you use Super Brew, come and find me there. My name's John Keenan, or Kane's Stream, Kane's Stream. So yeah, come and talk to me, come and match up with me if you want to. That'd be awesome. And then just email me, Facebook message me, whatever, YouTube comments, anything is good. Love to talk rugby. So thanks a lot for that. So signing off there, 5 minutes late. So ka kite anoa, good luck, enjoy your rugby, I'll see you again, bye bye.